Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Josh. It is Wednesday, April 18th, and it's about 7:30 in the morning on the Eastern time zone, and I'm actually up in Canada, Ontario, Canada right now, delivering my 7th unit. So I figured it might be time for another video, and this video, the topic is probably one I've held off on doing because I wanted to get a good feel, but basically this one's going to be about the money. I know everybody's probably well, a lot of people will be interested to hear, you know, what the real truth is when it comes to the money. So I wanted to, like I said, give it a little bit of time before I did a video, but it's been about, I guess, about 4 or 5 weeks. And you know, this is I'm on my 7th run, so I'm kind of getting a feel for it. I'm starting to get an average rate per mile, so I feel like, you know, although it's not too terribly long, it's enough of a gauge, and I'm starting to see you know, what this is going to kind of look like. As I mentioned in an earlier video, I think from the beginning, you know, my motive to do this wasn't necessarily money driven. But you know, if you're going to do something, you know, might as well figure out how to do it the best way, the most efficient way, and you might as well try to make the most of what you're doing. So I'm not going to do anything halfway. So I'd like to figure out a way to do this a little bit better. But let's get into some of the money, some of the real numbers. I'm going to give you some statistics from my first trip. Now, when I say trip, I'm referring to my first, I think it was about 16 days I was gone, my first trip. And that trip included 5 runs. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's not one trip, not one location. It was a compilation of 5 different trips that made up my first trip that lasted about 16 days. And I covered about 8,000 miles in that 16 days, and I averaged about $1.32, $1.35 a mile over that trip. Okay, and that's gross. Now, you know, meaning, you know that is not including anything. Obviously, that doesn't include hotels or any food, or, you know, you don't get a per diem or anything with this job, and it doesn't include fuel either. You know, you got to pay for fuel out of that gross number. So that what may appear as good money quickly starts to fall when you start adding up your expenses. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm renting a truck, and the rate of my rental is 21 cents a mile, or it's either 21 or 22 cents. I still don't know what it is, because my contract says one thing and they told me a different thing over the phone, but it's one of the two. It's either 21 or 22 cents a mile. So when I did the numbers, I ended up grossing, in that 16-day trip, I ended up grossing about $4,900. And then you start taking everything out. Now, before I forget, the one thing that will be reimbursed is tolls, in most cases. Now, you got to look at your paperwork when you take your load. In most cases, I don't think I've had an instance where a toll wasn't paid for or wasn't reimbursable. So I've always had my tolls reimbursed. So that's the one exception. You don't have to pay for those out of your pocket or out of the gross. So okay, so we start out with about $4,900. Let's just call it $5,000 gross for argument's sake. It was close to that. My fuel costs over that 8,000 miles were about $1,400 and change. So it was about 30% of that gross, which is ironic because I actually had done some reading. And that was a number, that 30% number for fuel was a number that I had heard before, and it was pretty accurate for me anyway. Now, let's see. I spent about $900 to $1,000 in hotels over that 16 days. That's how I'm doing it. I'm going to stay in a hotel every night. I'm going to get a shower. I'm going to get a good meal. I'm going to get a good night's rest, and then I'm going to wake up and do it again. Not necessarily trying to do it the cheapest way. You can some guys will spend the night in their truck to save a little money. But that's, again, I'm giving you the numbers from my perspective. And so as you start whittling that down, if you start out at 5,000, you drop 1,500 in fuel, you're at 3,500. Add another $1,000 or so for hotels, brings you down to about 2,500. You got about a $250 a month, what they call Bobtail Insurance, which is basically it's the only insurance that you're responsible for. The carrier will cover the main liability and cargo insurance, but when you're running empty, you have to have what they call bobtail or unladen insurance, and that policy runs about $250 a month for me, and I think that's about the average of what I'm hearing other guys say as well. So now you're around $2,250, and then of course for me, I've got the truck rental. So obviously that's going to be a pretty good chunk of it. 21 cents a mile, 22 cents a mile for 8,000 miles. I don't remember that math off the top of my head, but I want to say it was around $1,600 or $1,700. So as you can see, I chewed into that 5,000 pretty good. There's really not a whole lot left when it's all said and done. And so here's the bottom line as I'm seeing it a month and a half into this. You're not going to make a lot of money doing it, period. I think what I'm seeing is that getting into the RV transport is relatively easy. It wasn't difficult to get in. I didn't have any experience, but there's a reason for that, and it's probably not a surprise that you're not going to make a lot of money doing this. Now, that being said, there are better ways to try to make more money doing the RV thing. I've talked to some guys that are doing where they hook up a trailer and they're hauling multiple units, and those guys are doing quite a bit better. And obviously there's a more a higher cost of investment on the front end, but they're easily making double what I'm making at doing a single pull. So that's something I'm looking at, trying to figure out the best approach on that. How much do I want to invest in this? But I just kind of want to set the record straight. There's doing this, you're not going to make a ton of money, and here's the single biggest factor that I think causes it to be that way, and it's the Deadhead Miles. And if you don't know what Deadhead Miles are, basically what that means is it's when you're running empty. So the best analogy, or the best way I can describe it, is like a wagon wheel. Think of it like a wagon wheel, and Elkhart, Indiana is the center of the wagon wheel. And so when you run from Elkhart to let's say you're going to Pittsburgh, the money you get is only to get to Pittsburgh. You don't get money coming back unless you're pulling something. So I have yet to pull anything back. I have had no success whatsoever getting a backhaul or a reload. So I'm running Deadhead on every trip I've done so far, and I've kind of stopped trying because I just think that it's just not likely. You're just a truck, so you're kind of what they call power only, and there's just I don't think there's a lot out there. You can't just go tap onto some free load board and try to grab it because you're operating under someone else's authority. They would have to get involved in that process, so you can't do that. You basically have to get the reload, if there is one to be had. You have to get it from your dispatcher, and like I said, I've yet to crack the code on that. So that to me is the single biggest reason why you won't make a lot of money doing it this way. Again, going back to where can you make more money? Remember I mentioned there's 2 other divisions in this company. One of them's drive away, and then the other one was the hauling, where you have a truck and trailer like I was talking about. And I think the drive away, I met a couple that they were doing drive away together, and I thought, when they told me how they were doing it, they're actually making the most. I think I don't know that you can make any more money than the way they were doing it. Basically, it was a husband and wife, super nice folks, and they shared with us how they do it. And he drives a unit, she drives a unit, and they tow a vehicle, a real fuel efficient vehicle. I think it was a Volkswagen Jetta that was diesel, and it got like 50 miles to the gallon. So when they do a run together, they're getting, double the income going out, and then they're getting in their 50 mile per gallon, towable, and driving back to Indiana pretty efficiently. So that's probably about the best you could do in the drive away. As far as the hauling division, like I said, you get a trailer, you can move. I've seen as little as 2 units, as many as 5 units on those trailers. It just depends on the length of your trailer, and it also depends on how big the campers are. Obviously, if you've got 5 of them on there, they're going to be real small trailers, like little teardrop or scamp type of trailers. But I've seen up to 5 on there, and those guys can make, they're in that middle $2.50 to somewhere, $2.50 to $3 a mile. I haven't actually spoken with anybody that's hauled 5. I've seen it on the road, but I haven't actually spoken with anybody. But I know that once you at least carry 2, the rate just about doubles, or at least goes up $1 a mile. So anyway, that's kind of the long and the short of it. I wanted to address it. I saw a comment. Oh, by the way, before I forget, I want to say hello to the military folks out there. There's a couple guys that have mentioned they're in the Navy or prior Navy or military guys. So I just want to say hi to my fellow brothers and sisters out there from the military. And then anyway, somebody made a comment about good luck making money, you're going to need it, or something like that. So I figured, all right, it's probably time to address the money, because I know that does matter for most people, and they're going to want to know before they get into it what can they expect. So my overall assessment at this point in the journey is that it's a way to get in the game. It's a way to see the trucking industry sort of on a light scale. I'm learning about the industry as a whole, and it's a way to get in the door, but it's certainly not the most lucrative way to make money in transportation. I think that's sort of that's my overall feeling after doing this about 4 or 5 weeks. So I am enjoying it still. I mean, I am enjoying the journey. I like learning. I like talking to guys and hearing about their stories and seeing different setups. And I'm not sure how long I'll stay with pulling 1 unit. Probably not very long. I just wanted to get in and see what it was about, and then start to figure out how to make the most of it. So I'm probably going to be moving on to getting setting up a trailer and seeing about pulling multiples and so forth. So anyway, that's today's episode. I think it might be episode number 4, 3 or 4. But anyway, that's it. If you got any questions or any comments, or if I missed something or confused anybody, make a comment down there in the thing, and I'll try to answer it. Yeah, that's about it. All right, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.